When it comes to the group of the seven deadly sins, you got powerful brute-ish type characters like Escanor, the muscle. He's a human being that got the grace, or one could say power, of an angel named Mael, who literally gets stronger depending on the time of the day. So at nighttime, he's like a scrawny little man. When it's like 11 a.m. or 10 a.m., he looks like that. But then when it's high noon on the dot, he has like this phase where for 1 minute, he's like dang near invincible, aka on the level with the gods of the universe for like a good minute straight. I know it's hard to believe, but it's implied that Escanor went through his own fair share of power progression. Why do I say this? Because at one point in his younger days, his power was considered monstrous and he couldn't control it, and he didn't even want to be born at one point. He was considered a freak, and he would have different stages of power depending on the sun. His younger days, the one transformation, this transformation like this, for example, where he basically becomes dang near close to invincible. When he was younger and went to the state, it didn't seem like it was the same level of power when he was older, when he had more control of his abilities and had more knowledge of it seems. Because a good example is when he fought Meliodas back in the day in this overpowered state. When he was young, Meliodas was kind of able to curb stomp him despite him being in this overpowered state. Meliodas was in assault mode, was able to easily overpower him just like that. But when Meliodas in this same form fights this state again of Escanor when he's older and not young and has more control of his abilities or understanding, I'm going to show you how the tide has turned with this later on in this same video. Yeah, but how strong is this guy? We know he has sacred treasures, like magical objects that used to enhance their power. He has ridiculous super strength, fighting speed, durability, thanks to his grace, aka power. But how strong is the lion's sin of pride, though? In the early part of the series, beings like Meliodas, aka the main character, could casually slice apart mountains with weapons that aren't even his magical weapon with a twig. Meliodas gets much stronger than this, and Escanor has overpowered Meliodas. So yeah, this just give you a little scope on the little easy stuff they can do. One of the 10 commandments, beings like Galen, that can swipe hard enough to cut through mountains from afar, doesn't have the strength to wield Escanor's sacred treasure, the battle axe. Rita, as strong as he is, a being that can cut apart mountains can't lift his weapon, while the Escanor, nowhere near his full power, is casually lifting it up. Not to mention that Escanor can casually cut this being in freaking half. It makes sense for beings like Galen struggle to lift his axe up, because even main character Meliodas, for example, says that his sacred treasure, the divine axe Rita, is too heavy. Even though obviously since he's the main character, he can lift it. But yeah, big creatures like a giant squid are nothing to him. Beings like him are stronger than beings like Galen, who can slice apart mountains, right? Escanor, even without necessarily using his treasure or sacred weapon, can straight up punch a being way stronger than that previous being, blocked it. Even though he blocked it, he still went on his knees after that hit. It lets you know the power that Escanor can produce. I'm going back to this panel. Are we just going to ignore how he's fast too for his size? He can swipe beings that are super fast. They don't even have time to dodge. Even beings like Estarossa get cut because of his increased speed. He didn't even see the attack coming. Escanor is one of those characters that can take just as much as he can dish out, because when his own attack got reflected at him with double the force, he was bleeding, but he wasn't out of commission after it. But he says, oh, that's why I felt pain, because my own attack hit me. Even when Galen's using everything he got, he attacks his shoulder with his weapon, and the attack was so powerful that mountains that are far off get sliced in half, so mountain slicing power. Escanor doesn't even flinch from the attack. Here's another angle of how powerful Galen was, but yet that mountain slicing power was a joke to Escanor. These two different performances by these two different beings, you can see the power gap. Despite this being able to level mountains, he can't even make Escanor flinch, like not even move out that same spot. However, when this guy Estarossa, who's above this guy, he can at least move Escanor, but even he, to the point when it reached a certain time of the day, not even Estarossa could touch Escanor. Even when he powered up to his max, he couldn't move Escanor. However, Estarossa can, and he can even draw blood from Escanor. But even then, just because he can knock him around quite a bit doesn't necessarily mean he's his equal, especially if he reaches another time of the day and he punches him straight up without even using his Rita, and he goes to his knees from just a blocked attack. So I think it's fair to say he can split apart mountains with ease at this point, and nowhere near his full power at that. Escanor later in the manga even stated he's raised mountains bigger than you for breakfast, so yeah, he can effortlessly raise mountains. Even other high-end commandments are impressed by his power and presence. Not many can make them scared like that. I don't want to keep bringing up this guy, but you remember this attack that sliced mountains? Paper cut. That's all it did. Realizing he was outclassed, this dude Galen said, I don't even want none of this guy no more. When Escanor was about to do his attack, he said, nah, I'm good. Bro ran away and killed himself with his own commandment because his commandment of truth, if you lie, you pretty much turn into stone, which is a pretty crazy hack. And since he has a sun or energy projective type of magic power like sunshine, he melts people's armors with the heat, aura alone. And Vampire Kings instantly get vaporized. I don't even know what they thought was about to happen. Matter of fact, he got so much heat, he can instantly liquefy a castle, but he can turn other human beings or full-size beings into nothingness you go from his heat. Insane, right? Even beings that try to steal his soul, like one of the commandments like Melascula, they had issues because his magic power was just too much higher for a hack like that. Shows that he has resistance to hacksy type stuff.
Cocoon of darkness.
My glorious magical power.
But then if we're talking about his blast power, he can use magical blasts like a miniature sun, for example. In this occasion, protecting Merlin, when it comes to his blast power, he can project a lot of different energy projections from his body, even if his back's turned. One could say this is like his version of an energy volley. Just when you had to deal with his physicals enough, one can say Escanor could technically fly because he can just ride on top of the miniature sun. The commandments in the universe, one of their abilities is shooting out darkness to counter light. I guess Escanor's technically is light because he uses sun. His darkness was trying to block it out. But it just simply, it wasn't powerful enough to block it out. And this is the part where I told you how his power increases as the different times of the day hit. Power level surging higher than it was before. Yeah, that's how he blasted them. Even tries to save him, but it doesn't go too well. Not to mention the heat of his blast can evaporate an entire lake with one blast, called the Pride Flare, instantaneously evaporating an entire lake in the blink of an eye. And you're probably thinking, all we gotta do is disarm him of his Divine X Rita. Nope, he can just call it back to himself like how Mjolnir and Thor do. Why does he need this axe if he can just absorb the energy into his body? Well, it comes in handy when he's in inconvenient situations where during night, he can store up the energy from the daytime and then release it later from the axe. He pretty much explains it really well here. It absorbs all of the massive amount of heat energy he expels and stores it, allowing him to unleash it at will. Crazy amount of blast power Escanor has. This particular feat isn't necessarily Escanor's feat, but beings that are just as fast as Escanor can deflect lightning type of attacks in their base states like Meliodas without even needing his other forms and stuff and being weakened and stuff. So he's definitely way faster than lightning. But how strong is Escanor when he enters his legendary The One state though? When he's older with a mustache, not young Escanor. A good way to understand his power is comparing him to the main character, Meliodas, who made a pillar of darkness that wiped out a country. I mean, look how deep this hole was, and look how mountains compare to it, like the surrounding mountains and stuff. And Meliodas created all of this, and you know Escanor has fought Meliodas when he was in an overpowered state called assault mode. Escanor was actually getting overpowered for once. You don't see this often. Even when he was near noon, he still wasn't enough. As you can see, he wasn't like near his full power yet here. Yeah, Escanor was getting bullied. Yeah. But when he reached his ultimate mode, he reached the top tiers of the verse, the gods of the universe's power. He actually one-shotted with the holy sword of Escanor. The main character got one-shotted, powered up like this. And Meliodas is strong enough to level a freaking country. So yeah, Escanor is in this range of power or greater because he one-shotted him despite him being in assault mode. And believe it or not, it gets worse when it comes to figuring out his power level. To get a full understanding of his power, let me just remind you of the 10 Commandments. The reason why the 10 Commandments are even as overpowered as they are is because they're getting pieces of their power from the Demon King itself. So tell me why, when all of these beings got their 10 Commandments put into one being, they're basically the actual god, the Demon King himself, the one who controls the Demon Clan, the Demon King. All the 10 Commandments put together, the Demon King. For Escanor to be able to fight the Demon King himself one-on-one, all those 10 Commandments in one 10 Commandment can level mountains. He's fighting all of this level of power in one being in a slugfest. I mean, one 10 Commandment can't just fight Escanor as the one-on-one. Not even Meliodas' brother, even as strong as he is, even he would get overpowered by the one Escanor with his divine spear attack here because he's just too strong. I'm not going to say this, the one Escanor is infinite or nothing, but it's fought top tiers. Even Meliodas' brother Zeldris overpowering him and was about to win against him if they didn't intervene fast enough. This form is mighty. It's absurd slugfesting with a being with this kind of power because the Demon King, even though while he's possessing somebody else, this is like his literal full power. Escanor's only limit being it only lasts for 1 minute. This is probably his form being pushed to the limit because even the Demon King can damage him, which we've seen nobody do in this state other than a weakened version of the one. the Demon King was actually taking damage. Even the Demon King has his respect, saying, man, a mere human can face him. Considering that both the Supreme Deity and the Demon King created the demon world or realm and the demons, the Supreme Deity created the celestial realm and the god is raised. And Escanor, in his one state, can fight these kind of gods of this universe that create dimensions that have implications in that demon world to have their own stars, because they do have a light source somehow in the demon realm. So whether you think it's a moon, stars, there's even some people that argue universal, because the fact that they created the realm with the demons and the realm actually has a star. The only vague part is we don't know the actual size of the dimension, I guess. Some could assume infinite, but one could just scale it up to being, oh man, he can make a star, which could possibly mean Escanor has star levels or planet busting levels of power. If we just assume they made a moon, they're moon level-ish-esque. If we assume they can blast with the amount of stuff they can create. I know some people don't like the rank creation and blasting in the same category. I can't really blame people for thinking that, though. It seems like if you can create something that crazy with matter and energy and stuff, it seems like you'll be able to attack with that level of force, but that could be just me. Technically, the only being to surpass Escanor in this state is when Meliodas became like this, and he technically surpassed the Demon King itself. He can do some kamikaze type stuff and extend the length of the one power up by using his own life force. Then he becomes the one ultimate when he's like this. Him and the other 7 deadly sins work together to fight the Demon King, who possessed the literal country itself of Britannia. Like, check this out. He literally possessed the entire land. I think you all get the idea when it comes to these powerhouses. Sins is not to be messed with, whether it be the Escanor, whether it be him in the Near Noon or Noon, the One, or even the Ultimate. It's just ridiculously powerful. With visual proof, I definitely think he could probably one-shot a country and split the country in half with visual proof. There's even arguments that could be made to make him a planet buster or even a star buster level being based on the literal gods he had to be on par with, beings that created dimensions with stars in it and moons in it and stuff of that such. But those details are vague, but I wouldn't doubt them being able to create entire dimensions the way the gods are. They're like cosmic type beings, so it kind of makes sense. And narratively speaking, Escanor being this strong, it kind of makes sense with the narrative, because the reason why he's so strong is because the Supreme Deity is the one that made this grace, aka power, in the first place. But at the end of the day, that could be just me. How strong do you think Escanor is? Do you think he can level a country? Do you think he can level a planet, the moon, a star, dimensional? I just want to hear what you guys think with all this information. Did you enjoy 7 Deadly Sins as a show? I did. Wish it had better animation near the end though. But I will see you guys later. But I also got to give a shout out for the donations. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for subscribing and supporting the channel. I will see you guys later. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.